I turn them over in my hands. These things I once treasured that now slip through fingers like grains of sand. The diamond jewels of who I was, my fragile, costly measure. All of the grades and titles I'd gained and the relationships I'd sustained. Protecting me with the view that I'd earn my place, for I knew where I stood and I knew what I was called, and my worth could be displayed from a distance. But the reality was that the higher I climbed, the more I was putting my trust in lies as I clung to these things that symbolise the ideal yet unreal version of myself. Because the titles, they don't last, and you're left without a name, and the victories, they don't come, and you're surrounded by inadequacy and shame, and you invest all that you are in someone else who just gets up, leaves and rejects. Suddenly, all that security lets go. I've always known this state of collapse to be a position of fear, because how can you relax when the final landing place isn't clear? There's nothing either side, nothing above or below, it all just disappeared. And that's where I heard a voice call out, a gentle, quiet whisper, and a beckoning loud shout, and it was calling my name. Only there was something different in its strain, as the syllables were rearranged and the tone familiar, yet somehow changed. What you call me is not what's seen, and the title given is not my own. Instead, it is Christ, the Lord's, seated on the throne, the one who defeated my pride and in whom my fears are restored. You take my empty, lacking hands, and you fill them with your glorious reward. Zechariah the prophet, he tells of his vision that sees the high priest seeking permission to come before God. You, the one so holy and righteous that nothing impure can withstand your brightness. And it's there the priest realises, feeling ashamed and afraid, that his robes are filthy, they're not worthy of your gaze. For what should be pure white have become marred and stained. And so he cries out, Lord, turn from one so guilty. And Satan stands ready to accuse this priest of his failure to be perfect, in the hope that perfection itself will refuse him. And yet, you command the angels to tear off his shame and dress him in new robes that proclaim his brokenness is now transformed in your holiness. You take the disgraced and rename them your chosen, holding them in closest devotion as you chose to intercede so that over fear and pride the cross has spoken, it is finished for those who believe. So strip away my titles, my labels, my worthless offerings of self. Rather stand me on the firm foundation of your words, that once I was dead in my rejection, now I'm alive through your affection. A status that cannot be earned, but shows itself as freely given. Come take my broken pieces and rebuild me in the image of your Son, Jesus. See, the answer isn't to love ourselves more. For when I love myself so much, there's no space for anyone else, and my worth is trapped in this selfish clutch. Instead, it is placing all that we are and have in the one who is the very definition of love. This is all the soul sings for. This is all the heart longs for the one who stepped down to offer himself as sacrifice, for the one who is called our Saviour. Now this is my identity. Not created accidentally, but secure in your supremacy, living in total dependency on your grace until the day that I'm called to be forever in your resplendence. And this is my existence, being held together in your mercy and only in your brilliance.